The sound of a stainless steel spoon hitting a porcelain bowl rang out with a jarring noise in the large dining room of the Pearson mansion. Clink. I was holding the silver spoon, trying to feed an exact 15-milliliter amount of pureed pumpkin soup into the mouth of my father-in-law, Mr. Arthur. He sat in an expensive electric wheelchair, his head lolling to one side due to the sequelae of a stroke 6 months ago. His jaw muscles twitched slightly.
Mr. Arthur's swallowing reflex was severely diminishing, a clear sign of stage 3 dysphagia. I waited patiently, keeping the spoon absolutely steady, not shaking even by a millimeter. But no one at this lavish dining table cared about that silent life or death struggle. They were busy with the feast of the winners. Sarah, my wife, sat at the head of the table, opposite me. She wore an off-shoulder red silk dress, revealing white skin carefully cared for by weekly maso injection treatments. Next to her was not me. It was Dr. Vance, the director of the city hospital, a man with an industrial smile and a Tom Ford cologne scent so strong it overpowered the smell of food. Vance was leaning in to whisper into Sarah's ear. His hand rested casually on the back of her chair, his thumb lightly rubbing my wife's bare shoulder. Sarah giggled, a sound as sharp as crystal glasses clinking together. Her pupils dilated about 20% when looking at Vance, a sign of excitement and suppressed sexual desire. "Jack," the voice of Mrs. Evelyn, my mother-in-law, rang out from the other side of the table. Her voice was as sour as hydrochloric acid corroding metal.
"What are you doing, taking so long? Can't you even feed a crippled man properly? Truly useless." I didn't raise my head. I used a soft tissue to wipe a streak of soup on the corner of Mr. Arthur's mouth. "He needs to eat slowly to avoid aspiration pneumonia, Mother," I replied, voice even and emotionless. Vance laughed, a disdainful sound coming from his throat. "Aspiration pneumonia. Wow, you even know a few medical terms, Jack."
Must have picked them up while changing diapers for the old man, huh? But do you know, Jack, with Arthur's neurodegenerative condition, feeding him orally is just prolonging the pain. We should consider placing a percutaneous endoscopic gastrostomy peg tube, or better yet, move him to a special care facility. I gripped the spoon handle tight. Placing a gastric tube for a person who still has the ability to swallow is stripping away their last joy of living. And the special care facility Vance mentioned, I knew was just a warehouse for dying old people in the suburbs. "That's right, honey," Sarah chimed in, placing her hand on Vance's. "Vance and I have discussed it. Sunny Hill Nursing Home has an empty bed. The cost is very reasonable, and it saves space for our house. Anyway, the room he is lying in should be renovated into a yoga studio for Mom." Mr. Arthur made a gurgling sound in his throat. His eyes went wild, but I saw extreme panic in them. His pupils constricted. His breathing rate increased to 24 times per minute. He understood everything. He knew his daughter and wife were discussing how to get rid of him like a piece of waste.
"Dad doesn't want to go anywhere," I said, looking straight into Sarah's eyes. "Dad wants to stay home, and I will take care of him." Mrs. Evelyn slammed her wineglass down on the table. "What right do you have to speak here, you lowly nurse? You leech off this house, spend my daughter's money. You are nothing more than a guard dog."
"If we want to send him away, can you stop us?" Sarah smirked, taking a sip of red wine like blood. "Come on, Mom. Don't be harsh with Jack. He loves Dad very much. He's probably just afraid that if Dad is gone, he won't have a reason to stay in this house anymore." The three of them burst into laughter. The laughter echoed in the dining room, bouncing off Mr. Arthur's sunken chest. I looked at them.
Not with the eyes of a betrayed husband, but with the eyes of a researcher observing specimens under a microscope. Cortisol in blood seems high. He is worried about the upcoming medical inspection. I read that news. Serotonin spiked thanks to the illicit affair, but the cruelty in her eyes is congenital. A greedy woman with early signs of liver disease from alcoholism.
They thought they were the masters of this chessboard. They didn't know that the pawn is the most dangerous piece when it reaches the end of the board. Clang! I deliberately dropped the spoon onto the ceramic floor. The jarring sound cut through their laughter. Everyone startled into silence. I bent down to pick up the spoon, slowly wiping it clean with a napkin. "Sorry," I said, voice icy cold. "My hands are a bit slippery."
Just like the conscience of some people here. I stood up, pushing Mr. Arthur's wheelchair away. "I'm taking Dad back to his room. Enjoy your feast." I pushed Mr. Arthur down the dark hallway. Behind me, Mrs. Evelyn's curses rang out again, but I didn't care. I only cared about the erratic heartbeat of the man in the wheelchair, and the strange scent I had just briefly smelled when bending down near Mr. Arthur. Not the smell of food, not the smell of antiseptic. It was a very faint scent of bitter almonds. Signs of cyanide. No, too obvious, but definitely something toxic. Something that was killing him day by day. The door to Mr. Arthur's bedroom closed, separating us from the noisy and fake world outside. The room reeked of medicine and old age. I lifted Mr. Arthur from the wheelchair onto the anti-bedsore air mattress. His body was light, just skin and bones. The bulging muscles of a former track athlete were now completely atrophied. I adjusted the pillow for him, checked the urinary catheter. "Rest, Dad," I whispered. "Don't listen to what they say. I am here." Mr. Arthur looked at me, his cloudy eyes welling up with water. He tried to move his left hand, the only hand with a little sensation left. His finger traced a letter in my palm. H. Then the letter E.
I held his hand tight. I know. I will save you. But we need patience. I waited until his breathing stabilized, then quietly walked out of the room.
I didn't go to my bedroom, where Sarah had banned me from entering for 3 months. I went down to the basement. This place was damp, full of old cardboard boxes and broken furniture. Sarah called it Jack's rat hole. But she didn't know. Behind the shelf full of empty wine bottles was a secret door. I pushed the shelf aside, entering the code into the hidden keypad on the wall. Beep. The door opened. Inside was not a storage room.
It was a miniature but state-of-the-art pharmacology laboratory. High-speed centrifuge, scanning electron microscope, high-performance liquid chromatography. All bought with my salary from the Swiss Pharmaceutical Corporation, where I hold the position of Toxicology Research Director, working remotely. They thought I was unemployed. They thought I was just a weak man living off his wife's skirt. In reality, I possess 3 PhDs and 12 patents on neuroinhibitory compounds. I put on rubber gloves, taking out a tissue sample from my pocket. It was the tissue I used to wipe Mr. Arthur's mouth earlier. It was soaked in saliva and a bit of his reflux gastric fluid. I cut a small piece, put it in a test tube, added extraction solvent. I placed the test tube in the centrifuge. The machine ran with a smooth hum like a symphony of science.
While waiting, I recalled the past days. I married Sarah because I thought she was a compassionate doctor, like the saintly appearance she displayed before patients. I was wrong. She only loved fame and money. When her father had a stroke and was paralyzed, she considered him a burden. She and her mother only cared about one thing: the unannounced will and the life insurance package worth $10 million. But Mr.
Arthur wasn't dead yet, and he hadn't signed any transfer papers. So they needed him dead, but it had to be a natural death, a death due to heart failure or stroke complications. Ding! The chromatography analyzer reported the result. I stepped to the display screen. The graph peaks appeared sharp, accusing an undeniable crime. I squinted at the indicators. Digoxin, 4.5 nanograms per ml. Fatal toxicity level.
Digoxin is a drug for heart failure, but at this dosage, it causes severe ventricular arrhythmias. But that wasn't all. I looked at the second indicator. Furosemide, loop diuretic, extremely high concentration. Combining digoxin with high-dose diuretics causes hypokalemia, low blood potassium, and when potassium drops, digoxin toxicity increases manifold. This was a lethal combination. A sophisticated assassination disguised under medical treatment. The person prescribing this must definitely be a doctor with expertise. Vance. It was him. And Sarah was the executor. Every day she personally prepared medicine for her dad, saying,
let the filial daughter take care of Dad. Actually, she was injecting poison into the person who gave birth to her. The almond smell I smelled.
I looked back at the volatile substance analysis chart. Not cyanide. It was the smell of benzaldehyde, a flavoring additive often used to mask the bitter taste of Schedule A toxic drugs. They crushed the pills and mixed them into his food. I printed the analysis result. The paper was thin, but weighed 1,000 pounds. First-degree murder evidence. I could call the police right now, but it wasn't enough. If I called the police, Vance would use his influence to cover it up. He would blame medical error, or worse, blame me, the direct caregiver. I needed more than that. I needed Mr. Arthur to wake up, to change the will, and I needed to catch them red-handed. I opened the specialized refrigerator in the lab. I took out a bottle of pale blue solution. This was digibind, the specific antidote for digoxin poisoning.
I had prepared it in liquid form, colorless, odorless. Starting tomorrow, I would secretly mix this into Mr. Arthur's drinking water. It would neutralize the toxin, help his heart recover, help his mind clear. They would see him getting weaker on the outside because I would fake symptoms by applying makeup to make him look paler. But inside, he would be reviving. I turned off the lab lights. Darkness covered everything. Only the eerie blue light from the computer screen shone on my face. I was no longer Jack, the weak son-in-law. I was Dr. Jack, and I was about to start the surgery to remove the malignant tumors from my father-in-law's life. Tomorrow, I would install a micro camera in Sarah's medicine box. The game begins. 6 a.m. The faint light of dawn crept through the slit of the curtains in Mr. Arthur's room. I stood in front of Sarah's personal medicine cabinet, where she kept the special doses for her father. I wore surgical gloves, carefully opening the lid of the bottle labeled multivitamin. Inside were pale yellow tablets, but I knew they weren't vitamins. It was high-dose digoxin, crushed and pressed back into pills using a manual mold.
I poured all the poison pills into a zip bag for evidence. Then I poured into the bottle the pills I had prepared last night. They had the same color, same size, even the same slightly bitter taste of cornstarch. But the ingredients inside were harmless placebo, combined with a small amount of coenzyme Q10 to support heart muscle. I closed the bottle cap, placing it back in the old position, precise to the millimeter.
Sarah would never detect it. The arrogance of a doctor made her believe no one had enough knowledge to outsmart her. Click. I heard Sarah's footsteps coming down the stairs. I quickly left the medicine room, returning to Mr. Arthur's bed. I pretended to be changing the bedsheets. Sarah walked in, holding a glass of orange juice and the vitamin bottle. "How is Dad?" she asked, voice sleepy, but eyes probing. "Heart rate is slow, about 50 beats per minute," I reported, inventing a number consistent with the digoxin poisoning symptoms she expected.
He vomited twice last night. Sarah smiled with satisfaction, though trying to hide it with fake concern. Poor Dad. Must be due to old age and weakness. She took 2 pills out of the bottle. Let me give Dad his tonic. I stood watching my wife crush 2 fake poison pills I had just swapped.
She mixed it into the orange juice. She lifted Mr. Arthur's head, gently feeding him the drink. Drink up, Dad, to get healthy. Healthy, to die sooner. Mr. Arthur looked at his daughter, his eyes no longer panicked like yesterday. He had seen me swap the pills early in the morning. He knew I was protecting him. He swallowed the orange juice, obedient as a child. Sarah put the glass down, patting his cheek gently. Good boy. Jack, remember to monitor closely. If Dad shows signs of apnea, call me immediately. But don't call the ambulance. Dad doesn't want invasive intervention. I nodded. I understand. She turned and walked out the door, her demeanor relieved as if a burden had been lifted. As soon as her shadow disappeared behind the door, I took a wet towel to wipe the corner of Mr. Arthur's mouth. You did well, Dad, I whispered.
We just outsmarted the Grim Reaper for another day. 3 days later, I was installing a tiny device on the bookshelf in the dining room. It looked exactly like a wooden shelf screw, but in reality, it was a 4K resolution spy camera capable of directional audio recording. I needed behavioral evidence. I needed to record them discussing, mixing poison, laughing over the pain of their relative.
That evening, Vance came to dinner as usual. He brought an expensive bottle of wine to celebrate a new project. I sat in the monitoring room in the basement, wearing headphones, staring at the screen. The image of Vance, Sarah, and Mrs. Evelyn appeared clearly. "How is the old man's situation?" Vance asked, swirling the wine glass. "Still lingering," Mrs. Evelyn complained. "This old lady is very tired."
Every day having to look at Jack's funeral face and smell antiseptic. Sarah giggled. Don't worry, the dosage I'm using is maximum. Dad's kidney function is declining. Just about 1 more week, blood potassium will drop to dangerous levels. Then the heart will stop beating. Clean, neat, leaving no trace. Vance nodded in approval. You truly are my excellent student, Sarah.
After this case, I will appoint you as head of cardiology. We will have both the insurance money and power. I pressed the save button. This video would be the final nail in the coffin of their careers. But I couldn't release it yet. I needed the will. The current will, made 10 years ago, left all assets to Mrs. Evelyn and Sarah. If Mr. Arthur died now, they would still win financially, even if arrested. I needed Mr. Arthur to change the will. But how to get a paralyzed person out of the house without being detected? The opportunity came on the weekend. Sarah and Mrs. Evelyn announced they would go on a spiritual retreat for 2 days at a mountain resort to pray for Mr. Arthur's health. Actually, they went with Vance and Mrs. Evelyn's yoga instructor. As soon as their Mercedes rolled out of the gate, I began to act.
I prepared a specialized van with air suspension mattresses. I injected Mr. Arthur with a low dose of adrenaline to stimulate his nerves, helping him stay maximally alert for 4 hours. "Let's go for a walk, Dad," I said. Mr. Arthur blinked twice. Signal agreed. I carried him to the car, shielding him carefully so the neighbor's security cameras wouldn't record his true condition. We didn't go for a walk in the park.
We went to the city center, to the office of lawyer Robert Chen. Robert was my old classmate during graduate studies, now one of the most prestigious lawyers in inheritance and asset disputes. Robert's office was empty on Sunday. I pushed Mr. Arthur's wheelchair into the meeting room. Robert was waiting with a camcorder and 2 independent witnesses. "Hello, Uncle Arthur," Robert said, voice formal. "Jack told me everything."
"Today we will make a new will. Since you cannot speak or write, we will use the eye movement confirmation method recognized by law in special cases." Mr. Arthur looked at Robert, eyes strangely determined. Robert began reading each clause. "Uncle Arthur Pearson, do you confirm that you are completely awake and lucid?" Mr. Arthur blinked once decisively, yes. "Do you confirm you want to revoke all previous wills?" Blinked once. "Yes. Do you want to leave assets to Mrs. Evelyn Pearson?" Mr. Arthur opened his eyes wide, did not blink. "No." The heart rate on my monitor increased slightly. Anger was rising in him. "Do you want to leave assets to Miss Sarah Pearson?" Did not blink. "No." Robert took a deep breath, reading the most important clause. "Do you want to leave all assets, including real estate, stocks, and insurance beneficiary rights, to your son-in-law, Mr. Jack?" Mr. Arthur blinked. Once, twice, 3 times. 2 streams of tears rolled down his sunken cheeks. He tried to lift his left hand, grasping mine. The hand was skinny, cold, but squeezed my hand tight, as if wanting to transmit all the last bit of strength. He wanted to say that I was the only person he trusted.
The son he never had. Robert stamped the confirmation on the document. The camcorder recorded the entire process. "Done," Robert said. "This will is effective immediately. It will be sealed and only opened when—" He hesitated, looking at me. "When Uncle Arthur passes away." I brought Mr. Arthur back home before dark. He was exhausted after the journey. I laid him down on the bed, reconnecting the monitoring devices. His vital signs were gradually decreasing. My resuscitation dose only had a temporary effect. His body was too exhausted after months of poisoning and illness. I knew his time was not much. "Thank you, son." His lips moved, soundless, but I read the lip shape. "Sleep well, Dad." I smoothed his hair. "Now you can rest assured." 2 weeks later, Mr. Arthur passed away in his sleep on a stormy night. I sat by the bed, holding his hand until the heart rate on the monitor screen became a straight line. Beep, The alarm sounded monotonous, cold. I didn't cry. I turned off the machine. I removed the breathing tube from his nose. His face was peaceful, serene, as if sleeping a long, dreamless sleep. I took out my phone, called Sarah. Dad is gone. Silence on the other end for about 3 seconds.
Then a sigh, sounding like a sigh of relief. "All right," Sarah's voice rang out, trying to sound sad but unable to hide the joy. "Mom and I will be back immediately. Call Vance. Tell him to come sign the death certificate. It's all over." I hung up. "That's right, Sarah. It's all over, but not in the way you think." Mr. Arthur's funeral was held perfunctorily and suspiciously fast.
Right after the burial, the Pearson mansion was brilliant with lights for a condolence party. But everyone understood it was a celebration party. The guests were mainly friends of Sarah and Vance, those raising glasses to toast the family's relief. I stood in the corner of the room, wearing an old black suit, holding a glass of water. I observed them through the lens of a behavioral toxicologist.
The levels of dopamine and oxytocin in Sarah and her mother's brains were at maximum. They were drunk on victory. The adrenaline of escaping punishment made them overly excited. Vance stood in the middle of the living room, one hand around Sarah's waist, the other holding a glass of champagne. He behaved as if he were the legal owner of this house. "Ladies and gentlemen," Vance raised his voice, tapping lightly on the wineglass.
"Today we bid farewell to a man, a great man. But life must go on, and I promise to take care of these 2 wonderful women on Arthur's behalf." Applause erupted from the sycophantic crowd. Sarah beamed, then she turned to look at me. The smile vanished, replaced by naked contempt. She stepped forward, pulling a yellow envelope and a crumpled piece of paper from her Hermes handbag.
"Jack," she said, voice cold ringing amidst soft jazz music. "Dad is gone. Your diaper changing and cleaning duty has ended. This is a unilateral divorce petition I have already signed. And this is a one-way economy bus ticket back to your God-forsaken town. Pack your trash and get out of my house tonight. I don't want to see your funeral face ruining the party atmosphere."
Evelyn stood by, chin up, face red from strong liquor. "Get lost. Don't dream of getting a penny from my husband's assets. You are just a parasite clinging to the host, and now the host is dead." I took the envelope and the bus ticket. I looked at them, then slowly tore the ticket in half. Rip! The sound of tearing paper rang out dryly. "You are right, Sarah," I said, voice deep and resonant, no longer trembling like a subordinate.
My duty has ended, but Lawyer Chen's duty is just beginning. The main door burst open. Cold wind rushed in, followed by Robert Chen with 2 assistants and a state notary. They wore black suits, solemn,
and exuding the authority of the law. The atmosphere in the room sank immediately. "Who are you?" Vance shouted, stepping out to block Sarah. "Who allowed you in here?" Robert didn't bother to look at him. He walked straight to the mahogany table in the middle of the room, putting the leather briefcase down with a heavy thud. "I am the lawyer representing the will and estate of Mr. Arthur Pearson. At the special request of the client, the latest will be announced immediately after the funeral." "Latest will?" Sarah screamed, voice breaking. "My dad was paralyzed. How could he make a will?" "He was paralyzed in movement, miss."
Sarah, not brain paralyzed, Robert retorted sharply. This will was made 2 weeks ago with full witnesses, video confirmation, and medical assessment of behavioral capacity. Robert opened the file seal, the paper rustling, sounding like a knife sharpening. "I ask permission to announce. All assets, including this mansion, 51% of shares in Pearson Corporation." Sarah's heart seemed to stop. Mrs.
Evelyn gripped the sofa armrest tight, fingernails tearing the leather cover. "And the beneficiary rights to the life insurance package worth $10 million. Robert paused a beat, eyes scanning the pale faces of the traders. "Will be transferred entirely to my only son, the only person who did not abandon me when I was near death. Jack." The whole room was silent as a morgue. Sarah gaped, face drained of blood. Mrs. Evelyn collapsed onto the chair, clutching her chest, gasping. "Absurd!" Vance roared, slamming his hand on the table. "This is fraud! Jack manipulated the old man. I will sue. I will prove the old man was demented due to drug side effects." I stepped forward, facing Vance. I no longer cowered. I stood straight, adjusted my cuffs, exuding the demeanor of a top expert. "You want to talk about drug side effects, doctor?"
"Vance, or do you want to talk about toxicology?" I pulled a metal USB from my vest pocket. I plugged it into the family's smart projector system. The large screen lowered. The video played in sharp 4K resolution. Scene of Sarah and Mrs. Evelyn laughing while crushing yellow pills. Sarah's voice rang out clearly through the high-end speaker system. "Just 1 more week. Potassium drops. Heart stops. Clean, no trace."
The crowd gasped in horror. The guests began to back away, looking at the Pearson family like demons in human skin. Sarah trembled, backing away, bumping into the wine table, causing a crashing mess. No, not true. That was vitamin." I threw the toxicology analysis file on the table, sliding it right in front of Vance. "Vitamin. This is the liquid chromatography result of my father's food and gastric fluid samples.
Concentration of digoxin is 5 times higher than the allowable level, combined with high-dose furosemide to accelerate heart failure. A perfect murder protocol, right, Dr. Vance?" Vance picked up the paper, his hands shaking violently, seeing the undeniable chromatography charts. He is a doctor. He understands what these numbers mean. This is not just murder evidence. This is a death sentence for his medical career and life. "You..."
"Who are you?" Vance stammered, looking at me with fear. "You are not a nurse,
Nurses don't know how to do liquid chromatography. I smiled coldly, eyes sharp as a scalpel. I never said I was a nurse. I am Dr. Jack, Director of Toxicology Research at Novartis Pharmaceutical Group, and I just completed a field study on the behavioral toxicology of greed. My conclusion is, greed is the deadliest poison, and it has no antidote. The police siren tore through the quiet night of the upscale neighborhood. 3 police cars screeched to a halt in front of the mansion, red and blue lights sweeping over the dazed faces in the living room. Officers rushed in, handcuffing Sarah and Vance on the spot. Sarah screamed, struggling like a mad beast cornered. "You ruined me, Jack, you bastard! Why didn't you just die? My dad died because you didn't save him." Mrs. Evelyn couldn't say any more. The shock was so great she had a real stroke, foaming at the mouth, and was taken away on a stretcher by paramedics under strict police supervision. Vance tried to keep the last shred of a director, but cold sweat soaked his shirt. "I have the right to call a lawyer." "You don't know who I am." "I am the director. This is a mistake." I stood watching them being taken away. I looked at Sarah one last time as she was shoved into the police car. No love, no hatred, only pity for a soul that had rotted from the inside, incurable by any medicine. The house became empty. Guests fled like rats leaving a sinking ship. Only me, Robert, and the lingering smell of the unfinished party, mixed with the smell of fear, remained. "What do you plan to do with this house?" Robert asked, packing up files. I looked around the gold-plated walls, the luxury furniture Sarah was always proud of. Everything was cold and haunting. "Auction it all," I said decisively. "All proceeds will be used to establish the Arthur Pearson Foundation, specializing in legal and medical support for elderly people abused by their children. I don't want to keep anything from this place, not even a speck of dust." I walked out the door, taking a deep breath of the fresh late-night air. The rain had stopped completely. Stars began to twinkle in the dark sky, lighting the path ahead. 1 week later, I stood in front of Mr. Arthur's grave. The grave lay on a quiet hill overlooking the city, where he could see the sunrise every day. I placed a bouquet of white orchids on the stone stele, the flower he loved most, but Sarah never bought for him because she criticized it as rustic. "I did it, Dad," I whispered. "They received the appropriate punishment. You can rest in peace now." I removed the wedding ring from my ring finger. The mark of the ring was still there, pale white on the tanned skin. I placed the ring on the tombstone. It was the final shackle binding me to this painful and humiliating past. Now I was liberated. A shiny black Mercedes Maybach pulled up at the foot of the hill. The driver opened the back door, bowing to greet me with absolute respect. "Professor Jack,
The board of directors is waiting for you at the airport. The flight to Zurich takes off in 2 hours. The new research project needs your approval." I nodded, adjusting the lapel of my finely tailored suit. I turned my back on the grave, on this city, on the title of lowly nurse. I walked down the hill. Every step was steady and full of power. I am Jack. But from today, the world will know me not as an outcast son-in-law, but as the man who turned poison into justice. I stepped into the car. The door closed smoothly, separating me from the old world. The car rolled, taking me back to my real world, where I belong.